people kind of trust you more. Oh my God, this one wrote a book. It's actually very easy if you're a teacher or you specialize in something. It's not that hard to write a book about that something. It really is not, because we do language. It's what we do. It's second nature to us. So
Hello, and welcome to another series of I Taught English Abroad, a podcast by the TEFL org. It's our third series of interviews with prominent and upcoming figures in the TEFL world, covering topics like travel, starting a business, presenting yourself online, exploring your potential, and, well, obviously, teaching. Once again, we're your one-stop shop for the best advice and stories when it comes to teaching English as a foreign language. Truly, one of the real characters of the TEFL scene, Mrs. A is extremely well known online, specifically on YouTube, for her engaging, personable style. If you weren't aware she was a popular presenter before, you'll get a very strong idea of that from this podcast episode. We talk about the pandemic, moving to northern Spain, publishing children's books, and so much more. Here's her story. Today I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Mrs. A. Mrs. A, how are you doing?
hi, I'm great. Thank you. And you?
Oh, I can't complain. I mean, I know you're in Spain, but there's a little bit of Spanish sun coming out in Glasgow today, so it's actually very, very nice. I'm not really sure what to do with it. Exactly. Loads of people will know you. We'll get on to how big your audience is, especially online. For those who don't know you already, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm an ESL teacher. I've been teaching in Spain since 2008. I taught English at the university, academies. I'm an official examiner, author of 10 books. This sounds braggy, but like you have to say it. When you're
Of course you
online, you
do.
have to say it. It's like your resume. Organizer of the very first EduCon in Spain and the EDA Awards, which were the awards for best digital educator in Spain.
Amazing. And
The end.
you're allowed to this whole series is about sounding braggy. It's and also, I mean, it doesn't. But if you wanted to kind of show yourself off, this is the time to do it. So, were languages a big deal for you growing up, and when did you realize you were passionate about language? Where were you educated actually?
Spanish wise, I started learning Spanish at the age of 13. I was a very, very big fan of Shakira. I love her music to this day.
Excellent.
And I was singing her songs, but I was not understanding what I was singing. And I was just, chirping around the house until one day my mother came around and said, "Listen, would you like a tutor?" And I said, "Yeah. Oh my God, mom, sure." And I got a Spanish tutor. I started learning Spanish. And then, after I graduated, I was like, yeah, the motherland. I'm coming to Spain. And that was that.
It's amazing that actually, because I spoke to a Portuguese speaking Brazilian teacher the other day who told me that their inspiration behind learning English was the Backstreet Boys. So it's actually it's remarkable how, I mean, obviously pop music is a massive, massive industry, but it's remarkable how that, can influence people to make these huge life altering decisions. So how did you get into teaching then? Was that something you always wanted to try?
To be honest with you, I did not think about it. I just kind of fell into it. And then, of course, I got all my paperwork in order, and I got, all the prepping to be an official teacher and the exams and everything that one has to go through, the celtas, the deltas, and and so on and so forth. And yeah, I never imagined I would do it. I fell into it and I loved it.
So how did you've been teaching in Spain since 2008. How did you come to that decision to move to Spain? Obviously, Shakira was an influence, but how much kind of research did you put into it, or was it a sort of gut feeling and you made the preparations and then took the sort of risk? How did that come about?
I mean, this is not a story I tell often, like my close peers know it, obviously, but my father spoke 5 languages because my family's everywhere between Canada and Europe. They live everywhere, they're everywhere. So my father insisted on me speaking multiple languages, and it was great. He was a really great man. And he's always told me, like, you need to move abroad, you need to live abroad, you'll discover things about yourself you have no idea you're capable of. And he passed in 2007. And in 2008, when I graduated, I was like, okay, my father wanted this for me. I'm going to do this. And I knew I wanted Spain. So I took out the map of Spain. This is no lie. Took out the map, closed my eyes, and did this. Pamplona, Pamplona. That was that.
Oh wow, okay. Pamplona, it's actually very interesting that you mentioned Pamplona because it brings me on to my next question. Obviously, Spain has a lot of kind of autonomous regions, very culturally distinct regions with their own languages, their own cultures. Have you moved around Spain a lot? And where would you say English proficiency is more common? Which regions?
I would say where it's colder.
Oh, okay.
I know it's a weird answer, but
Yeah, why is that, do you think?
so here's the thing. A lot of expats move to Spain, and when they do move to Spain, they move to big cities or to the coast. So if anyone's listening to this and you're planning on moving to Spain and teaching English in Spain, um, the very big cities like Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia are saturated with expats. Saturated. It's hard to find a job as an ESL teacher. The pay is not really great from what they tell me. But if you go to places where technically no one wants to be because it's cold, like the north of Spain, it's nothing like what you've heard of Spain. It rains 300 days a year. It's cold, it's cloudy, it's not cool, man. But like in terms of weather, but it's still very pretty and very green. So if you go to those places where tourists or expats don't normally go to, you're very likely to find jobs.
It's interesting that because according to English First's English Proficiency Index, English is more commonly spoken at a good level anyway. It's more commonly spoken in the likes of Vigo and Albacete and these kind of different places. It's not necessarily where you'd expect.
Well, but that's it because it's colder. Because it's colder. So where it's kind of cold, people, Pamplona, for example, Pamplona, everyone's doing something after work. They go to the gym. They're educating themselves. They have English classes because the weather is not that nice. But when you live in a place that actually offers nice weather and you can spend more time outside, people normally go outside. They do stuff outside. They go to the beach. So their, let's say, academic extra time is a bit sacrificed in that respect.
I'd never thought of it that way. And I live in a very cold place, so I'm wondering what my excuse is. But you mentioned at the start you've taught at a university, you've taught in academies, and you've taught private lessons as well. Tell us about the kind of major differences between those because, we do have students who want to teach in universities, but they're not really sure how to go about that. And what were the differences in terms of academies? Just kind of give us an overview of that experience.
Of teaching at an academy versus university, I think you got more freedom as a teacher to guide your lessons the way you want to, working with an academy or doing tailored courses, private lessons. When you work for an institution, the bigger the institution, the, let's say, you don't have as much freedom as you would working for an academy. You have to stick to a curriculum and you have to stick to the syllabus and you have to stick to something that's like pre-made. I had a hard time teaching at the university, not all the way, but there was this particular group, level A2, and I had to teach business English to level A2, business concept, marketing concepts, when they did not know their irregular verbs. I didn't have the freedom to stop the class and give those students what they actually needed because I needed to finish 6 units in 2 weeks. So that was hard. So in terms of freedom, you don't have as much freedom. And in terms of payment, my university was private, so the pay was nothing to write home about. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
It's really strange, sort of kind of learning to run before you walk in terms of trying to do business English without the foundational stuff there. And what about Spanish English learners? Have you found generally that there's a real enthusiasm, or does it differ by institution or by geography? What's the sort of vibe?
Well, the vibe is that I think everyone knows that it's the language that's going to give you freedom. And I was just speaking about this with a student of mine the other day, and she went to Japan, and she was telling me that this was the first time I actually felt free. because when she started with her English classes, she was level more or less A2. Now she's a B1 plus, and she feels like she has the freedom to express herself in a country that is not Spanish speaking. So that is great. There's enthusiasm. People, in general, love learning languages. I would say most Spanish people speak English or try to speak English or are in English classes.
And so, since 2020, you've been publishing books. This is something I was very excited to talk to you about. So, for those in our audience who don't know, tell us what you've written and published.
Oh wow, this sounds really braggy.
No, it doesn't.
Like, I have a hard time with this, I swear. I promise this is very hard. But lockdown was a big deal,
Yeah, yeah. I didn't enjoy it.
right? I hated it
Yeah.
because all of a sudden it was like you cannot work anymore. And this is how I got into my YouTube channel as well. The first day of lockdown, I was like, let's do this. My students are preparing for their official exams. I cannot leave them like that. So this is why I started my YouTube channel. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to diversify and I'm going to, do other things. And I had the experience of writing books because I already wrote fiction.
All right. Okay.
But yeah, but because it felt like such a big deal, everybody at home, they were studying at home and doing all these things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to focus on my ESL project. So I started writing ESL books. I am specialized in official exams. So this is what I do. Your Cambridge, your TOEFL, your IELTS, your Escuela Oficial de Idiomas, which is the local national thing here in Spain. So yeah, I started writing my first book, Speaking and Vocabulary Practice for B1 and B2. And this is where I kind of, let's say, I was preparing official exams, but I never had enough speaking material in my usual textbooks. And I was suffering because I was always, scrapping here, there, everywhere. So, um, as a teacher, I was a bit thirsty in terms of material, and I needed more. So I did my own. I wrote this book and I published it, and it's dedicated to the speaking part of official exams and vocabulary part of the official exams, and I think it's great. And it certainly helped me, which was the aim, and it helped some other people as well. I'm very grateful because when somebody takes a picture of your book, sends it to you by Instagram, and it just leaves you a message saying, "This is a great book. I love it. I'm a teacher," and you're like, "Oh my god, thank you so much."
I love that, and no, that's it's not braggy. It's if it's something that you've worked hard on, and it kind of follows this general path that I've seen since I kind of joined this industry. Is you know, instead of kind of moaning about what isn't there, there's a real industriousness, and people will build things and create things. If something's not there, well, I'm a teacher. I can do it. I can build it. I mean, it's so. How has publishing accelerated the kind of opportunities that you have as a teacher? Do you find people ask a lot more of you? You end up being invited onto podcasts and stuff like that. Has it accelerated things?
Definitely. I mean, it's publishing something, and this is what it goes for everyone out there. Publishing something, whatever it is, whether you're doing, you're publishing and you're selling your own lesson plans, or you're thinking about doing a book on something. It kind of gives. It's silly. It is really silly, but it kind of gives you more credibility. People kind of trust you more. Oh my God, this one wrote a book. It's actually very easy if you're a teacher or you specialize in something. It's not that hard to write a book about that something. It really is not, because we do language. It's what we do. It's second nature to us. So it was not difficult to write it. I had it very clear from the beginning. So I kind of like I have the levels, okay? B1 and B2, C1, B2 and C1, and C1 and C2. So I kind of separated it like this. So then I separated the skills into books. So I have speaking and vocabulary practice for B1, B2, one book. Um, Writing practice, which focuses on the writings for official exams for B1 and B2, and B2 and C1. And right now I'm working on the listening practice and the complete practice, which is a bit of everything. So, kind of separating the books into skills so that the students have the option, okay, my listening is suffering. I need to get that. Or my speaking is suffering. I need to get that, rather than offering a very general textbook on something. And I recommend everyone write books. It's
Well,
good.
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you about that. What advice would you give to teachers who want to make kind of accessible and fun teaching materials? I mean, obviously, I don't want to encourage too much kind of competition, put more piranhas in the tank, but equally, you know, uh, what would you say to people who think, teachers who believe that they've got their own, signature approaches to materials or curricula, and they want to start publishing? What would be your sort of three key tips, I guess?
So you start small, see how you do. There's a website for teachers called Teachers Pay Teachers, where you can like create your lesson plans and just put them out there for sale. And other teachers will buy them and will plan their lessons with your material. And it's beautiful and it's rewarding. So if, you know, writing a book sounds too big, start small, see how you do. And if you like it, because that's pretty much the most important thing, good luck.
Feeling inspired? Fancy trying something completely new? Well, make your best move yet by signing up for a TEFL course with the most highly accredited provider on the planet. Here at the TEFL Org, we offer a range of online and classroom courses that you can study at your own pace. All of our courses include top-of-the-range teaching materials and come with dedicated tutor support from experienced and highly qualified TEFL experts. And what's more, we'll give you money off to do it. Just enter the code PODCAST at checkout to get 50% off any of our internationally recognised TEFL courses. And that includes our best-selling 120-hour Premier Online course. With that code, you'll not only get 50% off, but you'll also get a free lesson plans pack. Within a matter of months, you could be a qualified TEFL teacher, out there exploring the world, or working to your own schedule from home as an online English teacher. Just use the code PODCAST at checkout to get started.
So your YouTube channel started to grow at the same time as you started to publish more and more materials. So tell me about that kind of symbiosis, and also, how did you get started on YouTube? Because what you've managed to achieve there, we'll talk about that next. But what was your approach going in?
The books have not influenced YouTube, but rather YouTube has influenced book sales, because it's the best type of promotion if you're selling something. So first day of lockdown, I was really scared. What are my students going to do? I opened this YouTube channel, not expecting anything, because I was like, okay, I'm going to have 120 followers and I'm going to do the work that I've been doing in the classroom. Because I don't consider myself a YouTuber. Even now, like, I have an audience of, I don't know, 46K or 47K.
It's nearly
Oh,
48. Just for this, I will any humility, I will immediately stop. It's nearly 48,000 now.
um, and honestly, thank you very much. Like, if you're a follower, thank you very much. But I should insist on this. I am not a YouTuber. I am a teacher. YouTube is a complement to what I'm already doing. And that is not going to change. I don't consider myself particularly skillful at YouTube at all. And I'm doing videos in two languages, English and Spanish, which is not recommended if you want to grow fast. so so yeah, but it has helped me. Having a YouTube channel has helped me sell books. People know about you. It's a great, and well, technically, let's say air quote, free way to promote your things. So you should always have a promotion channel if you have something to sell, whether it's social media or a YouTube channel or TikTok or whatever.
So, what was your kind of initial? I mean, as you say that you had no real expectations about what would happen on YouTube, but it's grown pretty exponentially. What were your kind of initial? What was the initial ambition there? Was it sort of
There was no ambition,
no?
none,
Right.
none. But there was no ambition. But I do have a Big Mac. So um, when you get on YouTube and the likes, I live in Spain, so I was seeing all the ads directed to a Spanish audience. And I started seeing ads of individuals burning English books to promote their lessons. Or this other dude saying that he invented a revolutionary course that's going to teach you English in 8 months, and all of these sort of things that are so damaging for the industry because there's like no shortcut to learning. You have to dedicate time and effort. And please, like, if you're seeing us right now and there's a seller promising to teach you English in 3 months, or to pass an exam in 2 months, or to become bilingual in 8 months, like I'm sure we've all seen, that is BS because I'm not allowed to say it on here. It it's not like that is not happening. No. So I got really angry and I was like, I'm gonna speak about this. And I did. And like that is the reason why my channel exploded because you teach a preposition and no one's watching, but you get into a bit of controversy and sky's the limit.
That's that's actually amazing because that's such a constructive way of kind of dealing with something that frustrates you. Because like I'd like to think a worse version of me would just leave lots of really horrible comments. But like starting your own kind of YouTube channel to kind of deal with these inconsistencies and these things that kind of frustrate you. I mean, is that there's a really good message there though because you've created something positive out of kind of frustration with what you saw as something that was maybe illegitimate or at the best ill advised. So do you think that's a good kind of mantra for teachers in general? Like if something annoys you or something frustrates you or there's something you think is damaging, create something instead of just saying, you know,
I mean, speak up. If you see something that's just wrong, speak up. Because if you've noticed on social media, I see so many people who know a lot, who are intellectuals, who are respected, who have very, very, studied, valid opinions, and they do not speak up. They, they stay quiet when there's conflict, when their opinion is the one that weights a bit more than the choir of haters or trolls that you see on social media and so on and so forth. So speak up if you see someone is doing something wrong. And like in this case, all these English courses that started coming up during the pandemic because there was a need, obviously, and everyone sort of, I could see it in the ads I was shown on social media and YouTube. Everyone had a course. Do my course because it's like do my thing and do my thing. But I do not have a problem with the fact that these things exist. I do have a problem with how they're advertised. And they are advertised by shaming teachers, by shaming ESL professionals, by saying what your teachers have taught you is wrong. We have like the magical solution that's going to solve all your problems and turn you into a bilingual individual in 3 days. This is wrong. It doesn't happen. And it's false. So, yeah, we should speak up and we should not let the industry, the money making industry, because teaching is a vocation. It's like a calling. We're not in it for the money. We're in it because we love it and we love our students and we love what we do. But these people seeing what I've seen and how they've advertised it made me think that they were only in it for the money.
and so you talk about the pandemic there, and as you came out of the pandemic, you came out of the pandemic with this completely kind of changed profile. You had all these book releases. You were a voice on YouTube. So could you sort of compare for us your career kind of pre and post pandemic? Because obviously, while it was a traumatizing time for everyone, it was also a time to diversify and to kind of change your approaches. So, is it like a completely different career for you at this point, or how
Yeah.
have things changed?
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, it's shocking because looking back, you only see, okay, the shock of the pandemic itself and like, but oh my God, it changed so many things for me in the sense that, of course, I still teach. I love teaching. This is what I do. Now I have the books out, and being on YouTube for so long, I discovered amazing teachers of all subjects, and I follow a lot of them. And when we organized EduCon, like this popped into my head, like, is does Spain have an EduCon? Does this happen in Spain? So I asked around, do they have awards for digital educators? And like they told me no, that's never happened in Spain. And I was like, yeah, it will. I mean, I feel up for the challenge because you cannot invent the wheel or reinvent the wheel at this point in your life, but you can do something that has never been done. And I was very happy to do it. I had an amazing team of coordinators, and we organized this event. It was massive. We were all over the news, in the newspaper. A lot of people came, and it was amazing. And I would have never done this. Maybe publishing ESL books, yeah, but YouTube, being on YouTube and organizing EduCon and the Digital Educator Awards, I would have never done this if it wasn't for the pandemic, for lockdown, for because that's when I went to YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, you've actually answered a question for me there, because you are indeed, just so the audience are aware, you're the organizer of Spain's first EduCon and the EDE Awards, as you tell us there. So, what kind of time commitment is that, and what was the initial response when you asked your community of teachers in Spain, "Can we do this? Is this a thing that's feasible?" I mean, it's generated a lot of excitement, clearly. So how much of an undertaking was that early on, and what was the response like to the first ones?
It was a whole year of hard work, free labor, because we did not earn anything by organizing this event. It was free. Let's see if it's I cannot work every year like this. So hopefully it's going to generate some income in the future. But it was a huge undertaking. It was hard. It was consuming. But I am so darn proud right now. We've done it. It was amazing. It exceeded our expectations. It was just amazing. It was a brilliant event. I have no words. It was amazing.
And I mean, to do that kind of thing, it takes a lot of respect and gravitas from your peers in the English teaching industry in Spain. How much would you put down to kind of networking and being personable and getting, if not maybe in person, obviously due to the pandemic, but like, networking with people, shaking hands and getting to know people? What value would you put on that, and what advice would you give to people who are coming to a new country for the first time and want to be impactful in the same way?
I mean, networking is everything. The end. And okay, networking and then being really serious. Um, you have to be really serious when you embark on something, whatever it is, right? You start a new project. I deliver from beginning to end. And I was saying this a lot. I really do have a very toxic relationship with myself because my validation, my personal validation comes from my work. And the more I do, the more I feel I'm worth, which shouldn't be like that. I do not recommend this to anyone, but it's kind of an engine. It drives you places and you get very far. You do get far, but you collapse because you're exhausted as well. So be serious about whatever you do and try to balance it out. Your mental health is the most important thing. Um, Work around that. But yeah, network. Do
Mhm.
network.
That's a point actually I was going to ask you, because going back to your YouTube page and your online presence in general, I think it really kind of reflects your personality, especially based on the conversation we've had. I think it comes across. You're engaging and very personable, but it takes time and confidence, I think, to show that side of yourself, on camera. So what advice would you give anyone in our audience who's looking to use either YouTube or some other kind of like platform to kind of show their personality and make their personality kind of a central point to what they're doing in terms of teaching. What advice would you give?
It wasn't very hard
Okay.
for me as a teacher.
Okay.
Wait up, because like it will make sense,
Okay.
I promise. As a teacher, you are used to having an audience. So you're used to speaking to people. That part of the thing was not hard. So, oh, you have a camera and you speak to the camera. I imagine I'm speaking to a friend or my students or, and I had absolutely no issue whatsoever there. However, when it comes to editing, all the softwares, the scripting, that's a whole other story. And it's like, it is not funny. It's not great. It's hard. It is hard work. So there are going to be parts that are going to be easier than others. You just have to figure out if it's something that clicks with you because you have to like it. You really have to like it. Don't do it for the money. You're not going to make money.
Great. We'll be right back with Mrs. A after this short break.
Are you looking for a weekly guide to what's going on in the TEFL world? Do you want some advice on everything from job interviews to underrated TEFL destinations? Well, the TEFL.org blog has it all. Every single week, we tackle some of the biggest questions in the TEFL industry. Stay up to date with the latest trends in English teaching, find tips to make your next job application your best yet, or get inspired and read about the experiences of TEFL.org graduates teaching all around the world. Whether you're brand new to the industry or you've seen it all, we can guarantee an interesting read each week. To find out more, go to tefl.org/blog. That's tefl.org/blog.
And we're back with Mrs. A. So let's go right back to that move to Spain. I mean, clearly you're settled and you're thriving there, and you're part of a very big community of TEFL teachers and well respected. But how did you feel when you moved? Because like I know you're Canadian, but you didn't really tell us about kind of whether it was a city or a town you grew up in.
I'm a citizen of the world. I'm a citizen of the world right now. I do not consider myself like it's very hard to consider yourself anything when you're a TCK because I'm a TCK. So yeah,
Mhm. And
sorry.
that's quite right. No, it's answers the question a little bit. How was it when you first sort of moved over? Because obviously you did have Spanish ability, but was there any sort of culture shock for you, or is it just a case of like, right, I'm here, let's get into it?
It was so weird. It was so weird.
Okay.
Anyone who says it's not weird is a big fat liar. It was so weird. I swear to God. Where do I start? So like first day in Spain, right? Very first day. I had to stay at a hotel until my apartment was ready. So I had to spend 24 hours at a hotel. So this guy comes over. There was no elevator. It was in the old town. So this guy comes over and takes my monster of a luggage up 3 flights of stairs. And what do you do when we get there? I wanted to tip him. You know, I took out 10 euros and I was like, okay, thank you very much. And he took the money. I was like, what is this? ¿Qué es esto? Oh! And he threw the money back at me. No, tipping is different in Spain. So
Okay.
the guy felt offended that I actually considered tipping him. So do investigate on your like tippet culture. Completely different. Then coming downstairs, I was hungry and I was like, okay, I felt wild and adventurous. I'm not wild and adventurous, but I did felt wild and adventurous that day. And I was like, oh, I need, get me something that's like really Spanish because I want to try it out since I'm so wild and adventurous.
Sure.
And they brought me black food. It was like a black sauce with, I don't know, calamari or something black. It was gross. I looked at it. I could not, I could not.
No.
And it's delicious. Like it's delicious. But if you're not used to black food and this is not your jam,
Mhm.
it was very weird for me. And the guy saw, and he was like, "Oh, honey, I'm just gonna get you a salad." The salad came with something like called gulas, which are some like warm-looking pasta, but you
Right.
don't realize it's pasta. You think they're worms. But they were delicious. I was like, okay, I cannot, send this back. I will eat it. It was delicious, and that was that. And there's so many culture shocks. Spanish people cut their pizzas. They don't have a pizza cutter. They use scissors
Oh,
to cut
yeah,
the
I've seen some
pizza.
people do that. I don't know if that's. I think that borders onto some kind of moral wrong, but to each their own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How do you feel about that?
If it can be avoided, then avoid it.
Right.
But the cutters, it was invented for a reason. But was there anything else? I mean, in terms of the Spanish school day and that kind of thing, was there anything that you weren't quite expecting?
Um, Not in terms of the work I had to do. That was great, but it was all the rest. Proximity, for example, is a big deal in Spain. I didn't realize that I was abiding to my own social rules, and I didn't realize when you come to speak to somebody, and this you stop at an arm's length. This is like your safe space, right? And that does not exist in Spain.
Okay.
So like even like students, they get really, really close to you, but really close to you, and that is so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's just different. There's so many things.
So Spain, obviously, it's a hugely popular TEFL destination. A lot of people who want to teach English, it's their first choice or in the top five. What would be your sort of, just to put you on the spot a little bit? What would be your kind of key piece of advice for teachers who want to make it work in Spain?
To make it work, well, research your areas. As I said before, you have more job opportunities in places that are not overpopulated by expats. Because, if you're an expat, go to the big cities and you go to the coast. This is how it works. Um, if you research smaller areas, villages, and they're very beautiful, Spain has beautiful everything, really. Um, you'll have more opportunities. And go for it. Like, don't think twice about it. Jump in, close your eyes, get the map.
Amazing. So finally, I had to ask because I'm a fan myself. Your cats are a big part of your Instagram presence, and they've even have they featured in the books and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have a book close by, but yeah, they're everywhere because,
Hmm.
hashtag crazy cat lady.
No, there's no. I think everyone should have a cat. They should be mandated. But
Thank you.
yeah, as someone who records in the vicinity of a giant cat who screams a lot, how have your cats kind of, because genuinely they have, if you're featured in your work and on your kind of social, like online presence, that kind of thing. But have you found any ways of sort of incorporating your cats into your lessons, or like do they have their own fans, that kind of thing? Like, is there a sort of
People ask about them, like if I upload a video, because they're so invasive and they're so pushy, and they're free because this is their house and this is their kingdom, right? So I'm just a humble guest. So I would be recording a video and they would be sabotaging everything, jumping around, like walking everywhere. And the second I post a video, a cat free video on YouTube, then
Mhm.
everybody's suddenly asking, where are the cats? What happened to the cats? How come there's no cat today? So they've become almost a necessary presence in the videos. I don't force them or anything, but if they feel like sleeping there, they sleep. If they feel like walking by and ruining everything, they do. But people do seem to enjoy the presence of cats in
Mm.
videos.
I mean, maybe there's a world where the cats sort of have their own very very popular YouTube channels and teach English. Finally, Mrs. A, it's been amazing chatting to you. Where can people find you, and what's next? What's next for you? What's the next sort of big project, and how can people keep up to date?
Thank you. This has been lovely. I mean, thank you. It did feel very braggy on my behalf. So yeah, well, guys, my YouTube channel, Enjoy English with Mrs. A. please remember I am not a YouTuber, so do not make a big deal out of it. And what else? I'm publishing books, continuously publishing books. I published 3 books last year. My mission for this year is to publish 3 more books and teaching. I'm actually making a lot of changes in my life right now to sort of balance things out because I have the toxic tendency of filling my plate way too much and then, collapsing.
I hear you.
So yeah, I have decided to quit my job as a director of studies, and to focus more on writing books and classes and just making sure I already live very well. I have a good life. I do not need to be working quite this much, but I still somehow do. So, yeah, finding balance. That's it.
Amazing. Well, Mrs. A, thank you so much for talking to us. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you. Thank you all.
You've been listening to I Taught English Abroad, a podcast series by the TEFL Org. To keep up to date with every episode, subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your streaming platform of choice. And we love feedback, so feel free to leave us a review on any platform you like. For more information about the TEFL Org, or about teaching English as a foreign language in general, head on over to tefl.org. That's TEFL.org. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.